Hey there, this is FMA Chet here, welcoming you to part 3 of my Star Wars speculation/timeline video regarding Palpatine's contingency plan. In this video we'll be covering the events of The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and all that happened before the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Same as before, expect any mistakes in dialogue, etc. Now that we got those out of the way, let's move on to the video.
All remaining systems will bow to the First Order! And will remember this as the last day of the Republic!
The end of the Cold War came when the First Order tracked down Lor Santaga, who was in possession of a map to locate Luke Skywalker, the Last Jedi. Resistance pilot Poe Dameron had already arrived beforehand and entrusted the map with his astromech droid BB-8. A strike force led by Kylo Ren and Captain Phasma attacked Tonoa Village, executed Lor Santaga and the villagers before bringing Poe Dameron for interrogation on the resurgent Star Destroyer, the Finalizer, flagship of Kylo Ren and Armitage Hux. Later learning of the map under BB-8's possession, the Resistance pilot was able to escape by the assistance of a defective stormtrooper, FN-2187. Later identified Finn, but their escape fighter was shot down. A surveillance squad was sent to survey the wreckage but later discovered the fugitive stormtrooper, along with a native woman and BB-8 in Nima outpost. They lost pursuit when the trio stolen the Millennium Falcon, destroying their air support and escaped from Jakku. Believing the droid will be in the hands of the Resistance, General Hux suggested to Supreme Leader Snoke to target the capital of the New Republic, the Hosnian system. Believing the time was right to execute conquest of the galaxy, Snoke allows Hux to oversee preparations, using the power of a sun that the weapon absorbed. When the weapon was ready, Hux addressed the legions of stormtroopers under his command, who assembled to witness the destructive power of Starkiller Base. The super weapon fired a blast of phantom energy, tearing a hole in hyperspace along a perfectly linear path until it reached its target. The capital of the Republic was reduced to ashes. The destruction of the Hosnian system was visible on distant worlds, from Dakodana to Vados. With the information on the astromech BB-8's location confirmed by First Order spy, Bazine Natel, a strike force led by Kylo Ren assaulted Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana with the intent of capturing the droid, along with the map to Skywalker. While the master of the Knights of Ren went off with a handful of stormtroopers in pursuit of the droid, and the female accomplice who had previously aided it and the fugitive known as Finn, the strike force apprehended the fugitive along with Han Solo and the Wookiee Chewbacca. The victory was short-lived as the strike force, along with their air support, were ambushed by a squadron of Resistance X-Wings, led by the ace pilot Poe Dameron. Kylo Ren captured the female accomplice Rey with the Force, gaining some insight off the map from the girl by Force probe. Notified of the Resistance forces, Kylo ordered the division to withdraw, taking the girl with them in hopes of gaining the location of Skywalker. Using information provided by a reconnaissance mission and the defective stormtrooper Finn, the Resistance plot to launch a strike against the First Order's superweapon before it could fire their location, which the First Order were able to discover by tracking the reconnaissance X-Wing. After infiltrating Starkiller Base, Han, Chewbacca, and Finn captured Captain Phasma and forced her into deactivating the shields. Rather than dying in loyalty to the First Order, Phasma disabled the shields in an act of saving her own life, as the former Captain Cardinal had previously warned General Hux. With the shield down, the Resistance launched their attack on Starkiller Base, but despite their efforts to destroy the thermal oscillator, no visible damage was made. It was by detonators placed behind Solo and Chewbacca that a hole was created from the oscillator's hull, allowing Poe Dameron to destroy it from within, causing the planet to break apart from the energy drained earlier. Meanwhile, having killed his father Han Solo to reject the pull to the light, Kylo Ren confronted both Finn and Rey, which Kylo knocked the latter out with a force push to a tree. Finn then engaged Ren in a saber duel using Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber that Maz intended to give to Rey, but was overpowered and defeated easily. Ren then attempted to grab the saber with the Force, but the weapon flew into the hand of Rey instead. The two would do battle with each other, ending with Rey landing a severe wound to Ren's face before the two were separated by the rupturing planet. Meanwhile, having been thrown into a garbage compactor by Han, Chewie, and Finn, Phasma escaped and erased any records of her involvement of the incident, discovering that Lieutenant Sol Rivas had accessed the terminal, and in doing so learned about Phasma's treason, thus pursuing the lieutenant away from the doomed planet. As General Hux, by the order of Snoke, rescues Kylo Ren, Rey and Finn were rescued by the Millennium Falcon piloted by Chewbacca, joining up with the remaining Resistance fleet, escaping Starkiller Base's destruction as it became a binary, later named Solo in name of Han's memory. Captain Phasma later discovered Lieutenant Sol Rivas on the planet Lupora, where she killed him in order to ensure any knowledge of her treachery would be lost. She later rejoins General Hux on the Finalizer. As Rey, Chewbacca, and the astromech R2-D2 head off in search for Luke Skywalker, the Resistance attempted an evacuation of the planet Dakar, but their escape was interrupted by the arrival of a trio of resurgent Star Destroyers, including the Finalizer and a Man-84 class siege dreadnought, the Fulminatrix. Using the information provided by Inferno Squad, a strike force led by Poe Dameron was able to destroy the dreadnought, unfortunately suffering losses. Despite escaping from Dakar, the First Order was able to track them down by hyperspace tracking. Believing the time to come out of hiding has come, Snoke deploys a fleet of resurgent Star Destroyers, including his flagship, the Supremacy, to pursue the Resistance fleet. The initial battle resulting in the loss of several of Resistance command, including Gao Akbar. In the 18 hours of the chase, the majority of the Resistance fleet was reduced to the Mon Calamari 85 cruiser, the Raddus desperately heading for the planet Crate. An attempt to sabotage the Supremacy's tracker was secretly put into effect by Poe. Finn and Resistance technician Rose, whom the latter two and BB-8 were able to infiltrate the Mega Star Destroyer with a codebreaker, DJ, but their attempts were foiled when they were captured by Captain Phasma. Rey, believing that Kylo Ren could be turned to the light after being through a number of force bonds with Ren, surrendered herself and was brought to Snoke. The Supreme Leader revealed that he himself was responsible for forging the force bond between the both of them, in order to lure Rey here and gain the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker. Angered by being used, Kylo Ren betrays Snoke by using the Force to bisect him with Anakin's lightsaber. After disposing Snoke's guards, Kylo offers Rey to join him, which the latter refuses. Finn and Rose are betrayed by DJ. When in exchange for payment and sparing his life, he gives intel on the Resistance fleeing in small undetectable craft. General Hux orders for the remaining ships to be destroyed, while Phasma sought to carry out Finn and Rose's execution. Seeing her comrades being destroyed ship by ship, Vice Admiral Holdo sacrifices her life by sending the Raddus into hyperspace right into the First Order fleet, severing a wing from the Supremacy and destroying a number of resurgent Star Destroyers. During a fight with Finn, Phasma falls to her death when the surface of the hangar gave way beneath her, as Finn, Rose, and BB-8 escaped in a First Order light shuttle. Meanwhile, Rey escapes during the aftermath of the collision, sparing Kylo Ren and taking Snoke's escape shuttle. Kylo Ren then assumes the role of Supreme Leader by force, placing Snoke's murder on Rey and orders all remaining forces to pursue the remaining Resistance forces on Crate. The conflict became planet-bound as the First Order deployed a number of 10 AT-M6s, 2 AT-ATs, and a super laser siege cannon towed by 2 AT-HHs. Knowing that the siege cannon would break through their armored defenses, the Resistance set up defensive positions as a squadron of 13 VXD ski speeders would engage the First Order forces that stood in fierce formation, while Leia sent out a distress call to any allies in the Outer Rim. First Order air support would pursue the Millennium Falcon through the sodium caves of Crate, but the entirety of the fighters was wiped out, gone down, or due to collisions with natural formations of the sodium caves. With the cannon preparing to fire and most of his comrades picked up by the First Order walkers, Poe ordered the remaining craft to withdraw. Finn, however, disobeys the order and attempts a suicide run to destroy the siege cannon. Rose crashes her speeder into Finn's, preventing him from what would have been a futile effort and saving his life. After the siege cannon destroys the base's defenses, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren orders his forces to advance, refusing to take prisoners. To the Supreme Leader's surprise, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker appeared on the battle, distracting the First Order and allowing the remnants of the Resistance to escape. It was by dueling the Jedi Master that Ren realized that Luke had force protected himself from afar on Ahch-To, giving the Resistance time to evacuate the planet on board the Millennium Falcon. The strain of the force projection took a toll on his health. Luke Skywalker passes away, becoming one with the Force. The Battle of Crate would be a tactical victory for the First Order, but a strategic victory for the Resistance as they plan on rebuilding their forces. The call to any allies in the Outer Rim resulted in failure, either due to interference from the First Order, or out of fear of the regime's might. Despite the destruction of Starkiller Base and the loss of the Supremacy, the First Order's conquest of the galaxy had begun. With the New Republic in pieces, and its senators dissolving their task force in effort to protect their homeworlds, the First Order seized military control on various worlds. Some planetary leaders, such as King Sorok of Pastora, acknowledged the overwhelming might of the regime and refused to stand up, with the events of the Battle of Starkiller Base still not being known throughout the galaxy. Planets such as Moncala, Yavin IV, Lothal, and Corella fell into First Order occupation. Conflicts ensued throughout the galaxy, including the pursuit of a mobile aircraft refueling station, the Colossus, that resulted in the deaths of Major Alec von Reg, Commander Pyra, and First Order's Security Bureau Tyranny. The Resistance would battle the First Order on the planet Batuu, within the edge of the Outer Rim. The former captain of the First Order, Cardinal, now known as Archex, sacrifices himself to keep the presence of the Resistance on Batuu, but a fleet of resurgent Star Destroyers arrives sometime afterward. The Resistance flees from the planet, but the Finalizer is severely crippled, retiring its role as the main flagship in favor of a Legion General Pride's ship, the Steadfast. The Resistance would gather allies from the Mon Calamari, including son of Gayat Akbar, Atif Akbar, while fighting the First Order to liberate a back-to-production plant on Tevil. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren would then form the Supreme Council, out of various members of the First Order, including a Legion General Pride and General Hux. The First Order punishes anyone who assisted the Resistance in violent fashion. Tanua was ravaged by a fleet of 17 resurgent Star Destroyers and a Mandator 4-class siege dreadnought, and the execution of a Fondor Shipyard's crew member for being in contact with the Resistance, putting the shipyards under First Order control. With the New Republic in pieces, the Resistance weakened, any opposition to his plans eliminated, and the galaxy mostly under First Order control, Darth Sidious prepares to initiate the final phase of his contingency. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as I did making it. On the next and final part, we'll be covering the events of the Rise of Skywalker. Thanks again, and see you next time.